All right, so let's jump in. Tuning in from Vegas. Okay, coach, I see you. Timbuktu. Well, that makes sense since your name is Barefoot. It makes complete sense. It makes complete sense. All right, y'all. So listen, let's jump into these questions. Remember, if you want to submit your questions, the best way to do it is on Monday nights. I will post on my stories where you can put in your question so I can kind of prepare for the question as I go into today. Although I never prepare, I always end up scrambling at the end to move the questions to my iPad so I can look at them. But one of these days, I'm going to be real organized and I'm going to have these questions written out somewhere where I can get it. What's up, Turn 2 of Fremont? All right. But so submit your questions there. It gives me a chance to at least compile them all and be able to answer your questions as best as I can. So I really appreciate y'all. If for some reason you don't see the prompt, then just DM me your questions and I'll make sure that I answer them on the live. That's how this whole process works. So let's jump in. So a couple questions here about basically attaching videos on emails, and if so, what kind of videos? So this is from Gianna Ruiz, class of 2029. No problem, Coach Tuck. I appreciate you for being here, man. So, or woman, Coach, you're a man. I see you now. Okay. So question from Gianna Ruiz: should we attach videos on an email, and if so, what kind of videos? So that's a good question. Remember, as always, coaches do not care about your words, okay, at first. So if you are, excuse me, if you're going to try to attract a coach's attention, the best way to do it is through video first. So yes, you 100% need to put a video in your emails. Now, what I would suggest to you is that instead of putting it at the bottom of your email, I would 100% for sure put it in the mix of your email. And I got to stop real fast and shout out Coach Pete, who's in the house. If you guys didn't know, Coach Pete and I are putting on a softball clinic at the end of this month in California. So if you're in California and you are an athlete that wants to play at the next level, you want to become college ready, make sure you sign up for that camp. We got some spaces happening, and they're filling fast. So make sure you jump in if you're interested. I have a link in my bio, as well as you'll see the flyer on my feed. So go check out that if you want to feel fluid and get recruited. Make sense? All right, y'all. So let's jump back in. We're in Cali. It's going to be in the Bay-ish area. Vallejo, I think Vacaville. It's going to be in Vacaville. So I'm flying into the Oakland and I got to take that hour and a half drive. So if you're in the Bay Area or in Central Valley even, it'll be worth the drive. Okay. Don't play with us. So make sure you jump in. But yes, Gianna, make sure that you include a link to a video in your email. It is essential. What I would also do is at the bottom in your signatures, create yourself a link tree, put the links for all of your stuff at the bottom in your signature. So in your link tree, when they click it, they should be able to go to YouTube, your Instagram, your Twitter. If you have a sports recruits, if you have a field level, put all those links in there. But for sure, link a specific video within your email. And actually, our athletes in my 360 Athlete program just spent this past Sunday going through a email that I received from players when I was coaching, literally 4 weeks ago, and navigating what good parts of the email was good and what parts needed to be better and how they could make their emails better. So if you missed it, sucks for you. Join the 360 Athlete program. But if not, just make sure you always are including your name, your grad year, your position, a couple of your strengths, and a video is important. All right. Coach Romero hit me with 2 questions. They're about the same question, but the question is really, do D1 college softball players strength train real year round? And the other question is, should high school age players with D1 aspirations strength train year round? And the answer is yes. Now, I want to be cautious in how I say this to you. So as a high schooler, if you want to play Division I softball, I think there's a couple things you have to have and you have to be doing. So even when I look at talking to athletes to come into my program, I always ask them a few questions. And the one question that always stands out is, what travel team are you playing for? And are you playing locally or not? Or nationally, because that's really important. The second question I always ask is, how are you investing in your skill outside of high school or travel ball practice? Because listen, the Division I athlete is a 1%er. It's not, there's no question about it, or 2% for some, but there's no question about that. Like there's no question. So what 2%ers do, 98% of the other population do not do. So if you are just simply going to lessons, you are doing what the 98%ers do. Right. And I mean, hitting lessons. But when you are specifically going also to strength training or speed and agility training, when you're also going to infield or catching or whatever your position is, pitching, and you're getting actual feedback and advice on your mechanics, this is really crucial to becoming what it means to be a D1 athlete. So 100% strength training should be important if you are a person who needs strength training. Okay, so the other side of that is if you are a speedster, you need to be doing some speed and agilities with some mobility and preventative work. So you need to be working on things that take care of your ankles, that take care of your hips, that take care of your knees, that take care of your back, take care of your arms. Okay, but you have to be doing those things more so than lifting heavy weights. Now, if you're a pitcher, you would do a combination of both because you're really working through stamina over time as well as strength and as well as, again, fast twitch muscles. So you kind of need to have a holistic program. And I think my power hitters, you know, we want you to move better. So mobility is important. Getting yourself activated is important, but you're probably going to do more strength than anything else, but make sure you can move. All right. So ain't nothing like a home run hitter who can't run around the bases when they hit a single. It's the worst thing to see in the world. So make sure you keep your athleticism in as low as you go. So that's important. So cone drills, ladder drills are always important. So when I say year round, there are different seasons of what it means to do strength training. So there's certain parts of the year where you're going to do more, and there's certain parts of the years we're going to do less and more. I would say we call it conditioning, or we call it preventative work, right? So yes, 100%. And the same is true for athletes. If you follow the best athletes, they're so ingrained with working out almost daily that even when they go on their off season, it feels a little bit strange to not do any of that. There's probably like a 2 or 3 week of rest, but even then they're probably going for a run and doing small little things like yoga and things like that. But outside of that, they 100% are working year round at their strength and development. So they're just a program and a process. So I would just find a strength coach who can work with you year round to give you the guidance to make sure you're mixing in what's necessary in the right times of the year. There was actually a team, because some people will ask the question, well, in season, do they still lift? And yes, at University of Washington, we still lifted in season and we lifted on game days. So again, that kind of proves that point. But there's a team that I specifically saw this year that's doing it. I think it's UCSD, the Tritons. If you go to their social media, you will see that they are literally working out on game day. All right. So go check that out because that kind of gives you proof, again, of what it means to be a Division I athlete, the 2%er, not the 98%er, the 2%er. All right. My next question is, how should we email coaches that never respond to our initial email? And I really, really like this question. And I really like when athletes are in my program because I have to clear this up a lot. And here's the thing, for the most part, majority of the time, you're not sending emails to get a response. You're sending emails to keep coaches updated, to build consistency. You're building it so that like when they do finally know who you are because you've been so consistent, that they type in your name at the top of their email and all of your emails come up. That's telling them that you actually had an interest in their school from the beginning and you've been really invested in their program. That's what you're looking for. You're not looking for a response. Now, when you get to be in the junior class, senior class, then yeah, you're going to start to maybe want some responses, but the same is still true. There is some things that happen to help you build connections and to get a response, but that usually comes after they know who you are. So there's a whole cycle of process of how this works. And again, athletes in my program kind of understand this a little bit better, but that's kind of how that works. So just think about that. Make sure your name is coming across their email boxes as often as possible. You are not bothering them. Okay, so just be clear on that. I think some of us perfectionists, people pleasers, self-doubters, overthinkers in this group, which is majority of softball players, just to know the best way that you're going to get a college coach's attention is by being consistent and not worrying about if you're bothering somebody. Like take up the space and the time. It's going to be important. All right. Okay, let's go. Question for me. for player questionnaires, when should we start filling those out? And is this a one-time submission, or should we fill this out every year? So I like this question. Let's talk about it. All right. So questionnaires, they are great opt-in things that you should do if you're interested in a school. So some schools, if you go to their website, you'll see that they have questionnaires for you to fill out. And I would say, as things update, you go back and update. So if your GPA changes, if you change teams, if you change locations of where you're from, you always want to kind of keep coaches updated. So update it as often as things change for you, but opting in is really important, because once you make yourself available on their database, then you will start to get those camp invites and know a little bit about what's going on with that. So 100% make sure you're definitely filling out the questionnaires if they have them on their pages, and then keep updating as you feel like you have things to update. Okay, good question. All right, my next question is, and I like this question. I'm going to go a little bit deep on this because I think it's important. But hey, coach, can I talk about flashy players versus reserved players? And do college coaches like the first player versus the cool and collective player? It's such a great question. And I think it oftentimes gets misconstrued, and it also creates people pleasers and fake identity people. So I want to be clear when I say this. In fact, with my group, we on 2 weeks ago, we did a mental performance call. And I'm going to zoom in on this because this is important to me. I'm a behavioral specialist, for those who don't know. So I study people for a living, and I help you understand how to communicate better, how to know what your strengths are, what your blind spots are, and how to find environments that fit that, coaches that fit that, and schools that fit that. And part of the problem is that we don't know who we are, so we don't really know what we're going after. So when you guys are creating your top 50 school lists and you're going after schools, a lot of times you're not considering the personalities of yourself and the needs of yourself and the personalities of the people that you're trying to go play for. And that's a really important thing. And a lot of times when we're younger, we're getting shaped by other people's perceptions of us, or other people's opinions of us, or what we think everybody wants to see in us. So there are 4 different types of players. There are, I call them competitors, 4 different types of competitors. We have doers, we have influencers, we have stabilizers, and we have improvers. All right. So the doers and the influencers, naturally, as you hear, are active people. They're going to be out loud, up front. They're going to be more the people that are extroverted. Then you have the athletes who are stabilizers and the athletes who are improvers. And just by the name of the word, you can tell that they're more cerebral, more thinkers, more overthinkers, high achievers, who care a lot about people's opinions. They're going to be more in the background, more introverted. Now, what's important for you to understand is that there's a huge difference between the two in populations. So when you're talking about the doer and the influencer, that's probably about less than 25% of the population. The rest of the population, 69% or so, is literally thinkers, overthinkers. So when you get to softball players, especially coaches, like, you got to hear this too, but coaches, what happens, parents, what happens is most of you as athletes just want to do things the right way. You want to make sure that you are showing up as you believe people want you to show up. And that can become very draining, and it's not true to your identity. And so this is why I go back to like the strength-based recruiting, because for me, like, I want you to know who you are and what your strengths are, even if you are someone who's more introverted, and how that shows and how you can help showcase that to college coaches, which again, majority of you are. Now, the ones of you who are the extroverted people, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to put yourself out there, no doubt, right? You're going to have the energy, you're going to create the momentum, and we need that. But you know, we also need athletes who are calm under pressure. We also need athletes who think the game through, who can be strategic in what they're doing, to be the ones who keep us on task, right? That help us evaluate where we are and where we need to get to. So my brain in a game where some athletes' brains don't do that is, all right, like, let's say we get behind in a game by 4 runs and it's the 3rd inning. So if the thinker in the group is like, you know what, like, if we just take a moment and just figure out how to be calm in this, All we have to do is score one run an inning, and for the next 4 innings, and we're gonna win the game. That's how some people think, but because they're not out loud and rah rah, they don't believe that their strengths are valuable, and they are. So when I say to athletes legitimately, like, you have to know your strengths, it's so much deeper than just simply, I'm a home run hitter, I'm a power hitter. It literally means that you know the value that you bring to a team because of what you do. So the doers are going to be competitive. They're going to get things done. The influencers are going to be energetic. They're going to build momentum. The stabilizers are going to keep a steady, stable, secure. They're going to be the relationship people. They're going to make sure everybody feels included, needed, and wanted. And the improvers are going to always figure out, how do we move the needle forward? How do we keep being better as we grow? So when a coach is recruiting an athlete, where the introverted people fail a little bit in this process is they believe that if I just put my nose down and do the hard work, that it's going to pay off. This is where I'm going to ask you to be a little bit more courageous, and I need you to start to understand what your strength is and speak it more. That doesn't mean be loud. That doesn't mean be out there. It doesn't mean be over energetic. It just simply means like speaking up and shining your light, right? And the people, your right people will find you, right? The same is true. Like, some coaches really like the energetic person, the person who's out loud. Be that if that's you. But I would say when it comes to recruiting, of course, when you are on a field, a coach is simply listening to who is being present, who is being composed, who is being in the moment of the game. So are you able to simply be a directive, a leader, a friend, a relationship person? That's what matters the most, not so much that you're loud and out there, okay? Because sometimes people be speaking just to speak, and that actually gets on coaches' nerves worse than just simply not saying anything at all. So have purpose in what you're saying. But let your light shine, because that's going to be really important to your journey. And so I will tell y'all that I have always been more of a introvert myself. And so you would think it's crazy that now I basically do these lives and I put myself out there on social media. But it takes a lot for me to be able to do that. But I get excited when I see like athletes succeeding and being their best version of themselves. So only when you become truly comfortable in who you are will your light actually shine. And it goes back to my little tattoo that I have. It's a lighthouse. You can kind of see it. And it always says, like, I shine because I am his. And through my light, others can feel his love. And that's the main thing. Like, what's the best way to get coaches to feel your presence? That's all we care about. Let them feel your presence. It doesn't have to be in one way or another. It just has to be in a way. Make sense? So with that, what's really cool is the athletes in my program got to actually take an assessment to figure out who they are in that process, and how it helps them in their recruiting and how it hinders them in their recruiting process. And then we're now creating steps for how we combat where they get in the way, and then find ways to shine where we can really make it better. So with that, that's all the questions I had. I might be willing, it's only 9:20. I'll be willing to take one or two more questions. If anybody had something that came up, I'll throw it in the chat real fast, and let's get after it. Look at that. Let's go, Coach Swing RX. I feel you. One or two questions if we got it. If not, I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna give you like 10 seconds. Be brave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, y'all. Let's roll. Well, I appreciate you guys for jumping in tonight, for listening to my rants, to hearing everything that I have. Okay, I got you. NCAA numbers at 2029, not as important. You should have one if you want to, but it's not as important until you get to your junior year. I would say your sophomore year, get the NCAA number so that way you can start being invited to visits and campus and have phone calls in September 1st of your junior year. So I would say sophomore year is the best time to get it. If you want to get it now, split up the cost, 100% important and possible. Being under 6 foot hurt my Division I chances. Nothing hurts your Division I chances but your belief in yourself. All right. Nothing hurts. Let me say this out loud for those in the back. Nothing hurts your Division I chances besides your self-belief. Every athlete has a thing that they have to get over. It could be height. It could be confidence. It could be your swing. It could be your throw. It could be your strength. It could be any of those things. Everybody has something. But if you go and you watch college softball, all of those athletes also are able to figure out how to overcome those things, how to shine even though they are that person. So you're not trying to alter who you are. You're trying to be the best version of yourself that you are. Learn what your strength is and let the 6 foot not be an issue. There are a lot of people who are 6 foot, under 6 foot, who play softball. All right. So no, it does not hurt your chances. And watch my most recent video, parents especially, because I have Allie Hetzel on it. You'll see it. Allie Hetzel was an ambassador of mine. She worked with me when she was in 9th grade. We worked together and worked together for 2 years. And everything that she did, and she's under 5'5", as a catcher at a Division I school, a Power 4 school, who hit her first home run in her first at bat, which is crazy in her college career. So that's amazing. But listen, that's because she didn't let the circumstances of being from a small town, the circumstances of, being short, the circumstances of, not being known that much get in the way of her goals and her dreams. She figured out a way to make it happen, and she freaking made it happen. And so parents, especially if your athletes are 10th grade and below, stop telling them that, be realistic, or stop telling them to, be realistic, or stop telling them to say, well, let's keep our options open. No, like, the seed is planted. Let them go Division I until Division I is not an option, right? Make sure that, because when you create that dream, you also learn how to create the work ethic that comes with it. Now, if you're not willing to support that work ethic, that's a different story. But all of you who are sophomores and below, especially, don't let that be the reason. Find a way. If that's your dream, what is the gap? How do I fill that gap? And how do I let coaches know that regardless of whatever they might see in the present is 100% going to get them to where they want to go if they can push themselves to it. All right. So awesome, y'all. Free or pay for the number? Oh, pay for the number. Yeah, pay for the number, NCAA number. Don't get a free profile. Pay for it. It's going to be important. But all right, y'all, I've been on a rant. I appreciate y'all for jumping in. That's all I got for you today. If you need some help with your belief, it's also a part of what I do in the mental performance training of my 360 athlete. If you have questions about your recruiting, I also do that too. And we're going to do some stuff with some skill as well. So no excuse for you not to be seen, noticed, and recruited. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Appreciate y'all. Also remember that out of 8 billion people in the world, there's only one of you, which makes you unique, valuable, and enough. There's literally nothing that you can or cannot do that can prevent God from loving you and accepting you just as you are. So I want you to do the same for yourself. And then what matters is that you showcase the strengths to a coach that adds value to their program. That's what they're recruiting, not your value. Okay. Your strengths as valuable. All right. All right. With that, y'all, we'll see y'all later. Peace. Have a good one.